Well, welcome to a special committee meeting on the occupancy tax. I apologize for having to call this, but as we all know, there are a lot of supervisors don't like motions brought up at the county board meeting without them going through committee, so that's why we had to call a special meeting for this. All right, need a motion to, let's see. We don't need any motion on this at all. We'll get right in. The first one is, Lake George Chamber of Commerce, CVB, Kirsten Hannaford.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for taking the time once again to talk about EVP volleyball. Before we jump into the proposal that's in front of you, I want to share with you a few facts and statistics about the sports tourism market as a whole, so that you can kind of get a feel and understand truly the overall impact that actually sports tourism and marketing can have on our economy.
Excuse me, could you get a little closer to the mic?
Is that better?
Yeah, get a little closer.
Just like that.
There you go.
All right. I just want to share with you some information with regards to sports tourism as a whole before we get into the actual proposal. According to the National Association of Sports Commissions, in 2015, the estimated visitor spending associated with sporting events was calculated at $9.45 billion. This is up 5% from 2014, which was $8.96 billion. Sporting events and youth sports markets are growing right now in America. Families are paying top dollar to have their children train in sports year-round, and many families are giving up their traditional vacations for what's being termed as sportcations. They're attending youth events around the country. They're searching for budget-friendly hotels, convenience, and family-friendly destinations that also includes fun activities and attractions in the area. So the idea of these sportcations is beginning to take ground more and more, and they're taking the place of your traditional family vacations. They average around 2 to 4 days, and according to the study by the University of Florida, the overall spending, travel expenses, food, accommodations, and fuel, averages around $7 billion a year. So why am I sharing these facts with you? Because as you look at this presentation, I want you to understand the potential economic impact that a new sport event in this area can possibly have, to bring new revenues to the area. So if you turn to the second page, we had a lot of questions the last time we met before in talking about EVP and the opportunities. So I went back and I did a little more research in terms of their economic impact and what they've done in the past. So you can get an idea of where they've been and what they've done. Going back to 2011, as you can see, they partnered with Charleston, West Virginia, CVB, for a Sport Fest that included the Watercross National Championship, the Volleyball Championship, and the Scott Firefighters Combat Challenge. It attracted 5,000 people and an economic impact of $1.6 million. It also partnered with the United Way Block Party and the Sunday Scoop. In 2015, the 8th year of the Sport Fest, it was run again as a spectator event, open to the public, and the event included the volleyball, the Watercross Championships, and the 5K Glow Run. It attracted several thousands and had an economic impact of $500,000. In 2012, they held their event in Racine, Wisconsin. In speaking with their CVB director, they said they had an impact of about $400,000 when held in conjunction with their beach sports festival. In 2012, it accounted for 132 room nights and an economic impact of 110 down in Delray Beach, Florida, where they hosted over 50 professional teams and 80 amateur teams. So as you can see going forward, and I'm not going to read through every single one, but there are some significant opportunities here. Particularly last year when they held it in Flagler County, the beach tournament aired to 88 times on the Beach Sports Network, included a 60-second destination spotlight, 3 30-second commercials, and in the 2 years, the county saw an increase in visitor requests by 5 to 6%, and bed tax collections in the area campgrounds and hotels increased 22% over 2 years. The first year there were 12 professional teams, the second 24. And the 3-day invitational was also open to the public as well. In 2016 in July again last year, they also had the Coolest Coast Pro-Am in Two Rivers, Wisconsin, where they hosted 24 professional teams, 50 amateur, and this was also in conjunction with their annual fishing derby. What's interesting now with this one in particular is that there's a track record and there's some significant experience here where we're looking to move this event off of the June dates that we were looking at initially and moving it to July 14th through 16th of next year, which also falls at the same time as the King George Fishing Derby. So creating that Sport Fest environment. So turning to the next page on statistics. A little bit about EVP itself. They are the largest Pro-Am volleyball tournament tour in the U.S. They currently hold 18 volleyball events, 11 film stops for TV, and 60,000 spectators annually. They generate a reach of approximately 20 million households per season, with 22 regional sports channels and a 45-state reach. So you can see it below their various athletes. There's about 7,000 athletes that compete per season, and about 60,000 fans per season, with the demographics listed and outlined below. Their average room stay is about 2 nights per athlete and about 2 to 4 for spectators. Again, depending on what's going on, whether it's combined with perhaps another event, a sport fest, and things like that. Okay. So what does that mean for us in our area here? What is the possible economic impact of the Queen of the Lakes Pro-Am here in Lake George? According to their contract and in conversations with them, EVP will bring at a minimum 24 professional teams, which means 48 pro athletes, and at least 60 amateur teams, which equals to about 120 athletes. This is at minimum. EVP estimates at least 200 athletes participating in the event from July 14th through 16th, and about 1,000 spectators. Again, those numbers could vary a little bit given what else is going on in town, again, with the fishing derby. They estimate needing about 200 room nights for their athletes, plus potential overflow for their fans to watch the matches over the weekend. And as based on the past criteria, 45% of these folks stay overnight, and they travel more than 2 hours to attend the event. In addition, like I mentioned before, the King George Fishing Derby will also be taking place that same weekend. And this year, there's 141 entries and 87 boats that participated. Given the fact that this is also going on at the same time, there's a great opportunity here to create a strong family-friendly sport fest. Participants' families who might not be on the water or fishing could also become spectators potentially at this volleyball event. And holding both events in close proximity can create a festival-like atmosphere, allow spectators to meet the pros, and possibly some of the Olympic athletes, depending on their schedules, who come. The other benefit is really all the PR that can be generated from having this event in this area. There's ample opportunities for great photo ops, storyline generators, athlete stories, reinforcing the great Lake George brand, and as a family-friendly, sport-minded, and exciting outdoor destination. So if you go to the next page, you can see what their current tour schedule looks like at this point. They'll be beginning in April down in Bradenton, Florida, and they'll be ending up in Charleston, West Virginia. So we fall sort of in the middle there, July 14th through 16th, which actually the Lake George Volley Fest is no longer that. It would be the Queen of the Lakes Pro-Am. So the question here is, what do we get? What do we get for a benefit? What's our return on our investment here for putting in the money? You would get national TV exposure. EVP will produce and distribute a 30-minute TV show that will highlight the athletes in Lake George on Beach Sports Network that will include 10 regional sports networks, a TV segment for a 60-second commercial, branding at all 15 stops, on courtside banners, the logo, and on social media and their website. There's also an opportunity to bring some new young demographic to the area as well, which could feature high media visibility, increased brand awareness, as not just locally but also nationally. And the potential for new visitation, occupancy, and sales tax collection by combining the Lake George Fishing Derby and the volleyball event. But what's interesting about this proposal and about the actual contract, and I've spoken with the county with this as well, is that it's also a potential for revenue generation. In essence, what they're asking for is seed money, a $20,000 investment. However, there's the ability to recoup this investment through a rebate, through their sponsorship dollars. So, for example, if this committee were to approve the $20,000 seed investment, once they go out and they start raising sponsorship dollars, this money, $12,000 of that, once they raise up to that point, would automatically come back into this fund. After the $12,000 is reached, anything raised above and beyond that would be split 80-20. 80% goes back to EVP, 20% returns back to the county. So therefore, it has the ability to be self-sustaining. And I don't know of too many other events, frankly, that can claim this to say, you know, for an initial investment up front, you have the potential to actually make money down the road. And how this event, if it's going to be contracted over a 3-year term, eventually becomes self-sustaining over time, so that no money is needed anymore, but rather it's self-sustained through sponsorship dollars. So this is something else to consider. So in looking at the host deliverables, what they're looking at is for a $20,000 investment. $10,000 due by November 15th, the other 10 by June 24th. Therefore, they are requesting occupancy tax approval. Again, going back to the rebate, there's this opportunity for this $12,000 to be rebated back once their sponsorships launch off and that money starts coming back in. That $12,000 can come back plus more. Permitting, I know we had some questions about permitting and where we stand with that. Given the fact that we just selected the date just in the last couple of weeks, I know we went back and forth with regards to the June dates, the July dates. We're looking at 14th through 16th, so the application process has gone through to DEC. Currently, it is in their offices. I just spoke with them on Friday. It is about a 30 to 60 day timeline. However, they are looking to expedite this given the timelines that we are looking at internally for contract. So at this point, I will call back Darla, but she seemed to tell me, based on our conversations, that given the precedent of the fact that the Prospect Center has held similar events, that this should be, you know, this is not something that she's concerned about at this time. So that application will be going down to Albany either today or tomorrow for final approval. In terms of the other deliverables, there are no issues here. You know, parking places, again, through DEC, said no issues. Selling merchandise, again, no issues. And hotel rooms, I'm in discussion with several hotels who have already expressed a significant interest. So what will they give us in return? A 3-year commitment. They'll give us the ability to position ourselves nationwide on their TV network. Marketing and branding at all 15 stops. Tournament staff, insurance, equipment, and the opportunity to also host a corporate challenge, which is a great opportunity to bring in the community and the community businesses at large. And next page here just tells you a little bit about the TV broadcast and the TV distribution on the next page of where they go and what channels that they do run on. The next page you can see, and you've seen this I think before in the past presentation, truck positioning, branding, courtside banners, and the tent canopy there. The next pages are just promotional elements, including their Facebook page, their social media and web banners, their client lists. And at the very end is their application, their budget, and their qualifications and experience, as well as their recommendations. So the other question I want to address, which was brought up at the last time, is can this area truly sustain a volleyball tournament? Is there enough interest in the area? Would we get the teams? Would we get the amateur teams? And the answer, after doing some research, is a wholeheartedly yes. It is absolutely possible. Not just to get the pro teams, but also get the amateur teams. There's a very large volleyball community in the capital region, as well as in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts, as well as the opportunity to potentially bring down teams from Canada, perhaps from Montreal or Toronto. Some of the local teams include Albany Indoor Volleyball with 427 members, OCD Volleyball, which is a grass volleyball tournament group, IRVA Iroquois Empire Volleyball Association, Esperance Volleyball, Sporting, Big City, which is down in New York City, Capital Region, Berkshire, Out of Control Ski Club, Green Mountain Volleyball, Vibe Volleyball Club in Vermont, and Spike U. And the other interesting thing, too, that they are looking to do, which was not in this initial proposal, is that they're also looking at Festival Commons to add a grass component. There's a lot of teams that play grass volleyball as well. So it would be actually dovetailing having a beach component as well as a grass component. And they are aware of the fees to hold an event on Festival Commons. I've just recently spoke with the mayor, who says that it's not a conflict, there's nothing going on that space on that day, on that Sunday. So again, being able to create a big event in Lake George. So any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Well, comment on you on your research. This
Thank
is
you.
really laid out a little bit better than last time, so.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions or any comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Did you apply to the village and the town for the money?
I'm sorry?
Did you go to the village and the town seeking the Oxy tax money?
No, not yet. They have not.
All right, so from what, I'm just, so I get my head around this.
Yes.
We put $10,000 guaranteed right now to get this program moving.
Mm-hmm.
Another 10,000 in June. But in the meantime, in June, we might get 12,000 back.
Yes.
So, worst comes to worst, it would cost us 8.
In essence, if they get the additional 10 or 12 in the door through sponsorship, we do not need to put up that additional 10. Correct.
Conover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concerns here are,
Bolton didn't get it.
yeah, no, there's only just so many ways to access occupancy tax funding. Next month, we're gonna be reviewing more regional applications. We have a budgeted amount. It's a very difficult process. This committee's gonna have to go through that process. And then that process is gonna come to an end, right? One can also go to the municipalities, to the respective municipalities. They conduct their own processes on or about the same time of the year, but and the third way is to apply. A municipality, as my understanding, can apply through the discretionary funding that we have this year. And those are the only ways that I'm aware of to access formally, programmatically, to access occupancy tax dollars. Now, we can, and I won't say, I believe we have made some exceptions to this in the past, primarily I think probably requests made by the village for Wood Park or something like that. So I have, I guess, a question that relates to the budget and also relates to the process in terms of we're prepared to open up this process at any time throughout the year for any organization from any community to come in, and then we're just going to turn to the fund balance to, assuming it continues to exist, to fund it. So I don't want to take up the privilege of the floor because there may be other people that have other issues that they want to speak to, but I think that the committee needs to be thinking about those things in terms of how projects like this get funded. Because the idea was, as you know, we decentralized this program, we put the funding out in the hands of the municipalities so that we hopefully focused on the larger, more regional projects at the county level. That's not a perfect process, but that was the idea. And so if we're going to have a year-round open-ended process, you know, it would be good that all of us are aware of that in our municipalities as well, because we have people that are applying at the municipal level now because they feel that that's where they are supposed to be applying, right? We have people that have applied. The cutoff date's gone by, was it?
November 1st.
November 1st. Perhaps this is a project that should be submitted under that process, right? I'm not going to judge it now, but so I have some questions in this regard in terms of how exactly we're entertaining something like this.
Dennis?
It's just a complicated situation. I don't want to make it any worse. I haven't had a chance to talk to the mayor, but the town has occupancy tax, the village has occupancy tax, and then the town and village have occupancy tax. My thought is for a project of this size and potential, I mean, we could all chip in to come up with the initial money and see how it goes. I don't wanna make it more complicated than it really needs to be. Truthfully, it doesn't sound like that much money totally, but I mean, I think if we all threw in, an appropriate amount from each of those funds and covered this thing, then we're all on the hook and we're all got a thumb in the pie. I don't have a problem with that.
See, that would be the kind of approach that I think would fit if you or the village or the mayor, or both had come under the discretionary pot to ask for an additional amount of money for an activity, that, like this. I think that, we could then consider it, and that would fit within the process, it would also fit within the budget.
So why don't we proceed this way? I have to be careful with the mayor there.
I see him looking pretty careful.
Pretty willing to hack
I'm
back
not sure
there.
if those eyes are at you or me.
I don't wanna break his cookie jar, but why don't the mayor and I get together and decide what we can do from our two, and then make a proposal to the county for some monies from the discretionary fund.
That'd be perfect. I mean, 'cause we have,
We should be able to do that fairly soon, Mayor? Fairly quickly? You're looking for a response, right?
Our deadline is,
Yes.
December 31st, and we meet in January as, for our joint committee. But the village, it's gonna happen. I mean, people are gonna come at different times of the year that they just thought about something. If you recall, 3 years ago, you gave, the village or myself 25,000 discretionary funds for events that maybe people were gonna come to after you had your meeting and between the next season, and we used it. So I don't disagree with what Dennis said. I think we can fund this, easily through the town and the village and the joint town-village budget.
But
Without the county.
Gary,
What's the final amount, 10,000 or 20?
right now it's 10 to get it.
10,000?
$10,000 is needed for us to go to contract to get them, because what they need to do is they need the money, that $10,000 upfront, for example, to buy the media buys, to start the marketing and move things forward. The next batch of 10 is not due until next year, unless it's being, covered by sponsorships.
Village and the town.
That's up to them.
Well, now you got us kind of a sticky situation. The town has, OCTAX money. We don't have a deadline. We're open all year.
Are we?
And we, approach every project, with that thought in mind. Now, if it's a big project, it comes near the end of the year when we've depleted most of the money, we may have to roll it over. I'm not quite sure what I have in the budget right now as we speak, but I would think that if we could at least get a commitment from the 10,000 and get them going, then we can take it from there, so.
Well, that's what I'd like to see. We can get a commitment, at least a 10, you know, I mean, the way this is laid out, it's a lot better than it sounded a month ago. And, I mean, it's good
So do
potential.
we
It's a
want
3-year
to-
guaranteed contract if we start the ball rolling. I mean, we got 55 left in the county's portion of the fund that we can give the 10 to, and then throw the other 10 back to the village and the town. And you'd know, you might not even have to put that in, by the time it comes in June.
I would make a motion to that effect. Gene, it's a good suggestion that we take the initial 10 from the county
County's
coffers.
discretionary fund,
Yeah, and then
then-
the town and the village
then
will.
you can get together and then,
figure
within
out
the
the other
next 8
10.
months or 6 months, whatever it is,
And that we're to consider this an application, a joint application
Joint
from the town
application.
and the village.
Right.
Correct.
That's very important, that come to us in that fashion.
this way we can get it rolling, and after all your hard work, and I'm 100% on your side
Oh,
for
I
it,
think
this
that's good.
is a great event. It could be, you know, it could be and could be not, but look at what you have here and all the research you did, it's a lot easier to say, let's do it, you know, so that, you know, we get other events saying, well, we only got 8,000, we only got 6, I must have got 5 calls from other events, well, you know, now you're throwing away 20. You know, I don't look like a word is thrown away. I think this is a future program I think we have the money here, at least to 10 to get it started, and then in the next 6 months, have the town and the village work together to assure you have the next, 10, if we need it. Stroud?
Listen, we've already applied for the fees for the DEC for the beach area.
Yes. The application is in and it's being processed right now.
How much is that fee?
$25. That's it. They've already paid.
Do we want the parking area too for the vendors, or?
The DEC parking lot will be utilized. I've already spoken with DEC. That's fine. If there's a fee to go in, they will pay for that. And then if we needed ancillary additional parking, there's the auxiliary lot, which they're willing to let us use as well.
All right, now that's going on at the same time as the fishing tournament?
Correct.
Is that gonna be okay, Bob?
It doesn't, we don't use the festival space.
Okay. All right.
We just use the launch, and I've already been approved for the TRP for the launch.
All right.
The launch is aside from where they're gonna use it.
Okay, okay.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions or comments, or? I move to get a motion.
I made that motion.
Dickinson, Mr. Strauss seconded. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Thank you.
Got your money.
Good job.
All right, B on here, Supervisor Frank Thomas from the town of Stony Creek would like to address the committee. No.
Hey, I do have a couple of some pictures for you.
These all the same?
Pretty much.
I think that's same, it's just a matter of where it's. Got one more?
Please.
Here,
I'm not gonna be able to help you in this one.
This could be Ulster County for
Okay, well, first off, I would like to, pull this down a little bit. Thank the chairman for, having this occupancy meeting and, allowing me to make this presentation. This is a little different than most occupancy, requests. This is on behalf of the town of Stony Creek and the Stony Creek Free Library. And, we're requesting funds, in assisting us in acquisition of some property. If you look on your pictures, if you look on the screen here, you see where the blue is outlined there? That's the property that, we're looking at.
Two parcels.
Excuse me?
Two parcels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both owned by the same individual.
All right.
The purple section is, the Green Meadows Town Park, across from Stony Creek, or across the creek. The red parcel that's outlined is, the Historical Association. And the green parcels, which one picture shows the entire, parcel, and one is cut off, and this is the cut off one. That's owned by SUNY ESF College Foundation. The red and the green parcels used to belong to David and Pascal, descendants of Francis Dean. They they left the property to the Historical Association and to the foundation. The town of Stony Creek, since 2008, has developed, trails on the ESF property, and also, over on, this side. If you look, this is Harrisburg Road, that is Lanphier, and that road is, Murray Road. On the west side of, Murray Road, there's about 1.3 miles of, handicap accessible trails. On the east side of Murray Road, which is over on this side, there's about 3.5 miles of, regular hiking trails that are open to, hiking, walking, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, biking, horseback riding, pretty much everything except for, motorized vehicles. I dubbed this the Stony Creek Connection Project, because, as you can see, it connects, all these properties, with a pedestrian footbridge across Stony Creek proper here. That would link our town park, with this, proposed acquisition, which would enhance our ability to use our town park, help us with parking, and actually give us more space for more events. As I mentioned, the town has an agreement with the ESF College Foundation, also with the Historical Association. We have received, grants, through Department of State, through the local waterfront revitalization project, to develop these trails. So, New York State is also a partner with us. By acquiring this, piece of, these two parcels here, it also gets our, we'll be able to develop our trails across these parcels, and actually the center of town is just down out of your, picture. And, that has been one of the goals of the First Wilderness Heritage Corridor Plan, to connect these trails, with Creek Center. So this is, one property away from that connection, and, one easement. So, by joining all these entities together, the Historical Association, the library, which I'll get to in just a moment, the Chamber of Commerce, it'll enhance all of them and help all of them, survive and grow and prosper. Now the library originally was, looking to purchase this parcel. They came before the town board to, ask us for, some help. We tried to, guarantee a loan, but that's not allowed under the, New York State Constitution, I found out. And, they went to one of our local banks, to acquire funding. Were unsuccessful in acquiring funding. The bank is more than willing to loan the money to the town. Not surprising, but the library's vision is to develop right in this corner right there of that property well, first off, a library, but also a conference, community center type facility to accommodate between 500 and 1,000 visitors. And our library is very active. They offer a lot of programs that are usually, they have to offer them twice because so many people want to be part of them. We feel that they have the capability, along with help from everyone else within our town, to develop a facility like this, to operate a facility like this, to entertain conferences, for example, genealogy conference, historians conference, weekend book signings, and author talks. It would also be an entertainment venue, music and plays. Currently, they try to do that in our town hall, which is wholly inadequate. Lecture series. They want to develop research and study facilities. Weekends, arts and crafts retreat and workshops. Weddings and reunions. And also partner up with SUNY ESF and also SUNY Adirondack for some remote study projects. Also for maybe an intern project that could locate here and work. On the grounds in the field, down through here, they envision creekside water ecology and science areas. They want to develop gardens, develop cold frames and greenhouses. Also, I think all these properties would lend itself to reenactments and encampments of a historical nature. I think it would all work well. We believe this project, when complete, will prove to positively affect the economy of Stony Creek, making the opening of a new business or the expansion and improvement of current businesses more desirable. Beautiful projects like this and its accompanying program and events will draw media attention, physical traffic, and subsequently attention to the town and its business possibilities. Our ultimate goal is to have these properties connected with a facility working in unison, create a destination location for residents of the area and outside visitors. This project, we believe, has the potential to advance economic opportunities for Stony Creek and beyond. And I feel economic opportunities also for Warren County as a whole, including Warrensburg, Lake George, Thurman, all of us. So that's my pitch. Yes, sir, Mr. Dickerson.
Frank, just a couple quick questions.
Sure.
I like it. What's the building I can see there on that one view?
There's a house right there by Lancaster Road, right there.
What kind of money are you talking for the purchase of the two of those?
Well, the asking price for the entire thing is $160,000. I'm here seeking $30.
From occupancy.
From Warren County occupancy, right. I think that we can put up between the library and the town another 30, and if I can get it down to 100,000, the town probably can ban it and pay it off in 5 years.
So all those trails we see in that smaller, bigger map,
Right.
Those are in.
Yes. Yep.
So if I had a horse, I could take
You could.
he or she up here and ride on these trails. Do you have parking for horse and trailers or cars and trailers?
I don't know about cars and trailers, but we have parking. Let's see. I believe it's right there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, that's great.
And the trails get a lot more use than I ever thought they would, personally. There's somebody there all the time.
Yeah, they a lot of the popular trails are popular.
Right.
If you're not into that.
And we haven't really promoted it.
You look for other places.
We haven't really promoted it, so.
All right, so the proposal, Tom, you're looking for $30,000 from that discretionary fund that we have set up at the county. We have, what did we say, 45 left? So there's 45,000 left, you're asking for 30 of it.
Correct.
Conover?
Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
I like this proposal very much, and I'll tell you why. Some of you may know, we've been investing heavily in our trail system in Bolton Landing. And I just heard some numbers the other day and received some copies of the reports that so far on one leg of trail alone, the Pinnacle, we've had over 3,500 people make that climb. And I had them print out. There's a sign-in station there where you sign in and you tell people where you're from. So I started perusing those names because I wanted to see where these folks were from. And of course, there was quite a few there from around the county, but then there were other names there from all over the state and really all over the country. And it's one of the most popular questions we have at our visitor center is where can I go, you know, for a hike? Where can I go for a walk? And so we're in the process now of developing a couple of the last legs of this. And one of the real challenges that we have is connecting with the hamlet so that people that are in the hamlet that are visiting just walk where they want to go. So I understand your desire to want to connect with your hamlet center.
Right.
And the importance of that. I just have one question. Now would the idea be that an easement would be provided to the town, pedestrian or some type of easement, so that the ability to utilize these properties for that purpose would exist in perpetuity? Is that?
Yes, yeah.
And I'd like to make a comment too. I think it's a great idea, and you know, everybody knows me, I always looking for the smaller towns to get more and more because we just can't do things like this. I know it took me 3 years to get Glens Falls to let us use their watershed property for snowmobiling in Queensbury, and that's been a super success for us. And I know in our town, a lot of people come in with horses. They stay at the campground there, and we have not a lot of trails, but it'd be nice to have someplace further up to send these people that can't get in. So I'd like to see this go through. Mr. Stroud?
Yeah, I like the idea too. Frank, would this help the Stony Creek Inn at all?
I would assume so,
I
yes.
would think so too.
Yes.
That'd be a good thing too.
Yeah, I think the excitement about it is to bring people there and create a destination, and get people to come into town, and I think that'll help our town overall, and hopefully, I mean, we can only do so much. Hopefully, somebody will see the opportunity that exists as far as having a business to accommodate these people, and they'll create one. I also think it'll help our Stony Creek Ranch Resort. I think, packages could be worked out to where some of the visitors could stay there. Others would have to travel a little further.
Ms. Wood, was your hand
I was
up?
going to say I'm wholeheartedly supportive of this. I am one of Frank's frequent unmentioned visitors. He hasn't touched on it, but back in the back on one side there's a little overlook for the brook for fishing for the kids. I'm forever taking my kids down around here. Soil and Water went there and held one of their meetings a couple years ago before the other side was complete with the trails, but they were working on it. If you haven't been there, you should go. It is just a phenomenal experience, and I think it would be fantastic if you could walk across and then down to the park, being one that's always got kids around. If you're looking for a family experience, this would be great, and I can verify what Frank is saying. His library is such an active library. They're always selling out for everything, so if they could, in fact, have a place for a community center to capitalize on these things. A lot of people from my town go down there, particularly the genealogy. In our areas, there's a lot of old cemeteries, and we get people in my town hall all the time, so I think something like that really would be a boon and definitely hit an area that we're not getting. The historical tourism market is something to look at too, so I would be completely supportive of going forward with this.
Matt?
Thank you. Frank, you mentioned that you get a lot of usage on those trails, right? But that's with little to no market outlet.
Right.
So, in essence, I love the idea that you have here, just bringing everything together, connecting everything. Do you think this will go a long way towards creating a marketing plan and then implementing that?
Yeah, well, after we accomplish in a facility, I think we'll do that. And the library is able to apply for money through sales. They have construction grants available each year, plus, through our, legislators, they're always wanting to fund the libraries. So, I think, yes, I think it will make it a destination. I think, as I said, I dubbed it the Stony Creek Connection Project, but, Ed Bartholomew called it the Upper Hudson River, Center. So, he sees it as more regional type of project.
Anybody else,
Well, yeah, isn't this also, can't this, connect to part of what Steve O is doing with some of the backwood trails eventually?
Good, yeah. I mean, it could be marketed together. He's been working in Chester and, Johnsburg.
Johnsburg, yeah.
okay,
Yeah, just one other comment, just because this is, so similar, the having a community center like that linked in with it, we have our Conservation Park Community Center, and having that part of the trail system as an asset, the part of the trail system, pays a lot of benefits, because you find that groups will book, if you will, or utilize the facility. They'll go out, they'll do their hiking, they'll come back, they'll have lunch, or they'll have a conference of some type. Allows them in the moment to get out of the weather, so to speak. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll have different program. It allows them indoor and outdoor programming around the center.
Right.
In addition to the hiking, so I think that part of the concept, I think, is very important going forward as well.
I'd like to make a motion,
okay. Ms. Dickinson, make a motion to move forward on this project.
move forward on it from the discretionary fund.
Do I get a
I'll second it.
second? You got a second?
Frank
Ms.
has
Wood?
a question too.
Go ahead, Frank. I think we got some.
All right, go ahead, make it count.
Just not an observation, so Frank Dietrich from the Warren County Lodging Association. The question's not about the project, the trail systems and everything, awesome, it's not about that and the judgment on that. The question for the committee is, have we used occupancy tax dollars in the past to acquire land and buildings and other things? And
You go back to,
Capital projects are an
Right.
approved expense.
the capital projects are approved.
wasn't aware of any land purchases or not.
They've done several things, Frank. Some of the outside communities don't have the same opportunities for occupancy tax money that obviously Bolton, Lake George, Queensbury have. Fred Monroe got money to put streetlights in Chestertown so people knew it was open. And I think the same thing is true here. I mean, you have, the laundry's gone, right?
The laundry's still there.
Or it is, so you got 3-4 businesses in downtown.
Again, my question was just,
Yeah.
is nothing about the project, the land and the proposed use, it was just a question on, is that something by the law that occupancy tax dollars can be routed to? And I'm hearing the answer is yes.
Well, there's a whole list of things that can be used for. All right, so we got a motion, sorry, you wanna,
Yeah, I'll second that, and if you.
I think we had Ms. Wood
Okay,
seconded.
all right.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Frank, good job, thank you.
Thank you very much.
On the next item C was Mayor Blaze about the stage at the Festival Commons, but we met at the, O&M committee, and that's gonna be put off for a year or so. But I do have one from Mr. Blaze. If you remember last month, we canceled the meeting 'cause we were about an hour behind our schedule because of budget things, and I forgot to put this on this agenda, but, Mr. Blaze will explain it about All-Star Hockey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is very similar to what you discussed at about the volleyball tournament. This is an activity that came up after you had your deadline last year, and we need to do some things now. This is for the ECHL National Hockey All-Star Week. Brian Petrovic, the manager, has come to us, a committee we have working with the chamber, and asking us to host 400 or 500 individuals, players, families, spouses, for the ECHL hockey tournament in Lake George. And our fear, obviously, is the fact that the people are going to be staying. They're booking the Marriott, the Fort William Henry, and the Quality Inn. Last year in Portland, Maine, when they had the tournament, they used over 565 rooms. This is a Tuesday and a Wednesday night in January. My fear is that they're going to come to our area, and the game is on Wednesday night. They're going to be here some Monday, some Tuesday, some Wednesday, and some are going to stay Thursday, that there's not going to be anything for them to do, especially in Lake George. I can just picture a couple hundred of them walking downtown, and our beautiful decorations, our Christmas decorations, we're going to leave up, so there'll be lights on, but there ain't going to be nobody home. So I've taken it on myself to come up with some activities that span not only Queensbury and Glens Falls prior to the game, but also Lake George. Going to put on a first night, so to speak, musicians in the library, the post office, the bank, the Historical Institute, places that I can count on to be open. We're going to have music. We're going to do a fireworks show. We're going to leave our Christmas decorations up. The village is going to create a hockey skating rink for them down on Beach Road, which we've never had before. And I also went out and purchased a huge decorative hockey player, 30 feet high, that actually swings a club, and got it used from the Pittsburgh Penguins. But in any event, we had to come up with a budget for Brian to assure him that we had stuff to do. We're going to bus trolleys. With trolleys, we're going to bus them down to the outlets. We're going to take them down to Glens Falls. We're going to have activities for them prior to the actual All-Star game. We're also going to have some 2 ice sculptures. We're going to build 2 ice sculptures on the main street, light them up, and we're also going to, I got 5 fire pits from Lowe's, the last ones they had, and we're going to burn them on the main street, so when they're walking, they'll have some place to get a little bit warm. Because you can picture they're going to be on both ends of the village. But we came up with a budget of $15,000, and what I'm asking is that the town, the village, and the county share it equally, $5,000 each, to provide all of these various activities throughout the county to get these folks so that we know they'll have something to do while they're here. They're coming from all over Canada and the United States. This is our chance to tell them what a great place this is. We're going to give them a cruise on the lake if the lake isn't frozen in, but I'm not counting on that as part of the deal.
Oh, I think he's done it.
Huh? Yeah, well, but in any event, Brian has done great work, as you know, for the Thunder. He's worked very hard to make that team successful, and we need to make certain that when these folks come here, they're successful. But we have to sign contracts for some of these items now. The village has budgeted $10,000 besides the other 5 I'm telling you about. We bought the hockey guy, and we bought the fire pits, and we're going to do the fireworks. This is just another budget which I supplied to the chairman in the form of a letter. This is just other funding that we need to do these extra events that he's asking us to do along with the Chamber of Commerce.
Dennis?
I'd like to give a special thanks to the mayor for going out of his way to put this thing together. It is a big deal, and it really is hard in Lake George to do anything in the winter. The winter carnival has been there almost as long as I have, and some years they struggle royally to keep that thing going, and the mayor's put a lot of effort into this. He's got a lot of great ideas as usual, and I for one would be in favor of it. I'd make a motion.
I forgot to mention, Mr. Chairman, that we also met with the Winter Carnival, and they're going to start the carnival 2 weeks in advance. So we're hoping,
Wow, that's good.
it's Martin Luther King weekend anyway, and then they're coming in on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so it's a natural to make 5 or 6, you know, great times here in Warren County with all these folks here. But the carnival is starting up. One of our expenses is they're gonna do their parade. If you've ever been to one of their parades in the past, it's a fire truck and we're lucky to get a log truck and the village DPW truck. But we're gonna put some money into the parade, so it looks good, and they're helping us do that. So we are starting the carnival 2 weeks in advance as well.
Sounds good. I have a motion, Mr. Stroud, had a
Well,
question?
just a quick question.
Go ahead.
Bob, the All-Star game is gonna be played at the Civic Center?
The All-Star Game is going to be on Wednesday evening at the Civic Center. It's sold out, it'll be sold out, it always has been. Preceding the All-Star Game, they're gonna be giving coupons for various restaurants to go and enjoy themselves for discounts. The All-Star Banquet, the Hall of Fame Banquet, and the Stanley Cup is coming here. All those are gonna be on show at the Towers Hall at the Fort William Henry for the entire 3 days.
I think this is an excellent
A no-brainer.
example of how we use our regional assets in coordination with one another. This is great.
So I take that as a second?
Yes?
Okay, did I see another hand? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to thank you, Mayor, because, we have been working hard on the collaboration, coordination with the event, and, you know, this is, what it's all about, working together, and I just wanted to thank, the village and, the mayor for really adding such value to that wonderful event that we have on January 17th. Thank you.
So, and we got a second, Mr. Stroud, and we do have money in the discretionary fund finished out for this year. Give the mayor 5,000 for this project, so,
Give me another
got a
15
motion and a
minutes.
second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you all. I'll open the floor for anything to come to the OpTax committee.
Mr. Supervisor, just a question on the status of the study and...
This is an OpTax committee, I can get back to you on that. We're doing OpTax right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was a joint committee.
No, it's not, this is just strictly OpTax.
Yeah. Sorry.
Any other questions? Motion adjourned? We're adjourned.
Well, Mr.